Welcome back to the Humble Market Timer YouTube channel. Once again, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I want to do a follow-up on the previous video in which I made a case that silver would top at a particular point in time, and that particular point in time happened to be when the gold to silver ratio approached in that 58-59 area. Please go back and look at that video. I think I broke down pretty well why that would be the reasonable case for the gold to silver ratio of silver and gold to come down to. Currently we're in about the 70s, and I think it can go down to that 59, 58 range, and I think that would also represent the top in silver. And again, in that video I broke down why. But I also mentioned in that video that I would do a follow-up video where I would give you the moon case for silver. Previous video was the reasonable case. This video is the case in which silver goes to the moon. Now I have this silver chart right here, and it kind of shows you the action in silver. And before I go deeper, I have my disclaimer in the description. Once again, these are my sole ideas, not investment advice. But as you can see here, you have the picture of silver over probably, I think it's just a 45-year time frame. You have a nice obvious cup and handle setup, and we're breaking out, and we're hitting currently, as I'm doing this video, new highs at around $59 for silver. And typically when you have these large bullish pattern setups like you have here with a cup and handle, and it happens over a very long period of time, that tends to yield massive breakouts in the price. So we're currently at about 59. If you look here, they're already at about 60 in China. So typically China kind of leads in the pricing of commodities and precious metals. So if China is at 60 right now, we're probably going to get there very soon. And I think all of us believe silver is going to go much higher. Now, in this moon case that I'm doing for silver, I'm going to predict that silver will go to $200, and I believe silver will go to $200 if gold also goes to $5,000. And I think both of those, gold going to 5,000 is probable, and the moon case is if gold goes to 5,000, silver goes to $200, and I'll kind of break that down and show how that corresponds via technical analysis if you look at the gold to silver ratio. Now, I think many of us also believe gold is not going down. It may have pullbacks here and there, but we're in a time where we're loosening monetary policy. They're talking about lowering interest rates once again in a week or two. They're talking about getting rid of the current Fed chair, who's been pretty hawkish in not wanting to lower interest rates. Trump's pretty much said he's getting rid of him, and he's going to appoint his own guy who's going to be much more dovish and much more willing to lower interest rates. So that leads to easier monetary policy, lower in the dollar going lower, and precious metals and things that have value, that are hard assets, they will go up in price. Now, I also did a video about gold, and I want you to take a look at the previous video I did and the video about gold. I did a video of silver with the cup and handle formation. All those will be in a commodities playlist, and I'll have a link of that in the description. Check that out at your earliest convenience. But here's a picture of gold, and I mentioned in a previous video how gold is on the brink of hitting that $5,000 mark, and it's only going to take for us to get in this new or in this previous parallel right here for gold to potentially hit 5,000 very quickly. So that is how gold gets to 5,000. And again, I think we're going to get there because of all those things I mentioned before about loosening monetary policy. The reason why gold is going to go up to 5,000, silver follows gold often, but silver tends to have spikes in the price when it gets a reduction in supply. And with all the AI and things going on, building, we're talking about a lot of extra uses of silver. Production of silver is, as from a world base, is at lows. We are approaching a shortage in silver, and that, along with increases in gold, will cause possibly the price in silver to go much, much, much higher. So looking at the gold to silver ratio, you can see currently we're sitting at about 71. And in my previous video, I talked about how you can determine the tops in silver based on the bottoms in the gold to silver ratio. And I broke all that down in the last video, but if we have that in mind and understand that when the gold to silver ratio plummets and bottoms, that's when silver tops, I think we can figure out how silver goes to $200. And so let's look at this chart right here. Let's kind of widen it out a little bit. Again, they only have data for the gold to silver ratio up to 1997, but we'll work with what we have. And so I want to show a couple things. Again, what are my eyes telling me? If we're drawing lines to see kind of where the price action is headed, let's look at this bottom here, and let's connect it to this bottom here, and let's stretch it all the way out to about here. So this bottom represents a spike that occurred back in February of 98, and this represents a spike that occurred in 2011. Again, bottoms in gold to silver ratio represented spikes and tops in silver. So if you line these things up, you get a trend line that heads down to here. So that puts the gold to silver ratio pretty low on this gold to silver ratio chart. So let's see if we can find some confluence to it getting into this area on the gold to silver ratio. Let's also look and connect the top here. Sorry, let's do a parallel. Let's connect the top here to this top, and let's extend it down through here. And then let's kind of draw this down to get to here. And we can kind of see where this lines up. If you notice from this top, we're connecting here, but notice this line of the top part of this parallel acted as resistance. As support for this portion of the price action in the gold to silver ratio. We fell out of that area of support, retested it, came back down, retested the top part, fell all the way down, and we worked our way back up to the top up here. Let's sort of extend this line even more so we can really get a feel for the price action. And as you can see, I think this is a phenomenal parallel. We have nice bottoms in this area. We have nice support and resistances at the midpoint, everything you want to see in a parallel. So I think this is a great parallel. And as you can see, the price action has been trading in this parallel really since 2004. So we're talking 20 years we've been in this parallel. But if you notice, you know, we had slight dips out of the parallel where we came right back in, but look at how the action in the gold to silver ratio is starting to accelerate down out of this long-term parallel. And so when you start to see price action fall significantly out of a parallel, you then can do a measured move to where the price action can potentially go. So let's sort of shrink this a little bit more and give us a little more room by doing that. And if you want to know where a measured move will be when it falls out of the parallel, you replace the bottom portion of the current parallel with what would now be the midpoint. So we pull this all the way down to about here, which would be the previous parallel bottom is now the new midpoint, and the projected move to the downside in falling out of that previous parallel would be all the way down here. Notice the confluence with the bottoms that we lined up in this line right here. So we're talking about reaching a bottom here in about that 25-ish area, right about here. Do a little circle there. So price action, if it continues to fall, could drop all the way down here. And as you can see, when that gold to silver ratio drops, it can drop very, very, very quickly. So this is suggesting that maybe we can hit all the way down here potentially in the next 3 to 6 months if we really get a push in gold and we really get a shortage, a big shortage in silver. With all of that price action, silver's been suppressed for a very long time. So when you have that suppression, you're talking about massive moves. So big drops in the gold to silver ratio means big pops in the price of silver. And so if we do the math, and if we project gold in this sort of same time frame to get to that 5,000 area, if we get a massive drop very quickly in the gold to silver ratio all the way down here, that 25 range, $5,000 gold yields $200 silver. So $200 silver would be the moon case. If silver goes wild, that would be quite a story. It's been a long time coming for silver. Again, prices have been suppressed. There have been a lot of people who've been silver buzz and wait for silver to make that big move. In this moon case, it could go as high as $200, and everybody in the commodities and precious metal space would go wild. Hope you like the content. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.